Hello again and good day to all friends. This is Mojtaba Rasti from the Thales team, and today is November 14th, 2025. I'm here with you to analyze Bitcoin using the Thales Market Screener tool. Please note that these analyses are for educational and informational purposes only, and if you use them to take positions in the market, the responsibility for your profits or losses is entirely your own. Well, friends, as we reviewed this morning, the 100,000 level broke, but it couldn't hold as support, so we saw a move downward. Now, on this 4-hour candle, which still has about an hour and a half left, we're seeing some signs of decreasing pressure. If this candle closes as it is, meaning the lower shadow remains, we can observe some signs of reduced selling pressure. It came down to this gamma. Remember, we said the market maker intensifies volatility here, and in a way, that's what happened. You can see they pushed the price lower, and now things are getting a bit scary. That's why I'm trying in the next few minutes or hours to provide you with a brief report in the format of our morning updates, but with a longer-term perspective if I can. There are still two viewpoints in the market. Some believe that the big players are buying at the bottom, while others think that this fear is being created in the market, and some believe the bull market is over. But in my opinion, for reasons I'll discuss later, you can still lean toward the first option, that there is still hope for the bull market. But honestly, they've created a lot of fear in the market. You can see that the lower edge of my bullish channel has broken. Now the weekly candle is below the 50-week moving average, and if it closes below that, things could get even scarier. If it closes here and the next week's candle also stays here and we spend 2 or 3 weeks below this level, then the situation will really become concerning. Still, overall, you can see the general trend is bullish. The overall trend is still bullish, and that can't be denied. But we have to see how things gradually unfold in the coming days. Alright, let's move on to the next part. Alright, let's go to the market screener. Let's check out the market screener and see what we've got there. Actually, take a look. Right now, on the 4-hour chart, from this point onward, you can see divergences. There are divergences between the price and, especially after this drop, divergences between the price and the RSI. On the 1-hour chart, we also see divergences here. If you look from this point, there's a downward move in the price, but the RSI is almost flat. You could draw a horizontal line. So again, you can spot divergences here. These could have consequences. Gradually, it might set up conditions for the market to turn around. It's a good spot, 95 to 96, where we are now. You see, we've come down to 94,500, which is a good area. Of course, we're getting very close to that 92,300 gap, really close. It's not at all unlikely that the market could go fill that gap and then make a move. Let's review in detail today's trades from the beginning. Let's go to 14 up to this moment in the raw database for our records. The expiration date. Tomorrow, which is the day after today, will arrive soon. The expiration date is tomorrow, November 15th. It's completely bearish, with 4,353 Bitcoin wanting below 95,000, and the price could even go up to 101,100. As you can see, we're still on the downward path for Delta. Delta is moving downward. Our gamma, the gamma of these put trades, is pretty much right here at 95,000. The average of these trades is at 95,000, but it could go down to 91,000 or 92,000 as well. It could drop lower, and you can see that this intersection of gamma with the red curve also falls at 87. That's basically the end of Delta, where Delta completely flattens out. That's what we're seeing. Now, let's look at the more recent trades. It's still the same. It's still the same. In fact, gamma has dropped a bit lower to 93 and 794. Well, the process database still looks the same. You can see at the top there's a ceiling that starts from 98 and goes up to 105 to 106 with an average of 102,500. But in the process database, the intensity of the drop here is equal to the short gamma. The gamma line. The gamma from buying puts is at 93 and 7 and at 94, with its bottom at 89. So again, that's the outlook for tomorrow. It's a downward trend, so we're still moving along this downward path. Let's move on to drawing the zones and continue with the indicator. Okay, you can see the intersection of buyers and sellers' opinions. At the bottom, the intersection point of agreement was seen at 95 and 100, and 95 and 200. We went down to 94 and I think 500, then came back up. This was observed, and in the profit zone that was created, the agreement area at the top is 102 and 300, 102 and 400. If the price wants to take a break here, we could gradually move up to 101 and 102 as well. We might have a reaction here and possibly head back down again, or maybe go up. Let's see how it plays out. Let's put this into the indicator and continue. Okay, you can see the indicator. The momentum of the movement is very strong. Look, it's actually crossed below the red curve and is moving right along it. The highs and lows are also moving sharply downward, so for now, we're in this trend and moving downward. Let's update the zones and move on. Okay, you can see the zones. The upper zone is from 101,500 to 103,500. The lower zone, which was the agreement area and the profit zone, as you saw, the price came toward it, touched it, and bounced back, 94,900 to about 95,200. The middle is 98,000. Now you see that we've hit the lower zone, so we can move up to 98,000 and then the next stage up to 101,600. One more thing I wanted to show you. Look, on the daily time frame, if you calculate from this point, maybe we can see... Of course, this really needs to go down a lot. Look, something like this. Again, here, this has actually been broken. I mean, if this candle wasn't so intense, we might have even been able to draw a kind of wedge with this shadow. If you want to draw it, you see, what I mean is that this movement is getting compressed inside a triangle. If it turns back up, meaning if we see some oscillation here inside this triangle, then the tip of the triangle, the peak of the downward move, could even reach as low as 88, if we accept this as a descending wedge, which is ultimately a bullish pattern. It's also getting compressed inside a triangle. If it moves upward, it could go up to 101 or 102 and then come back down. This movement could repeat for a while, and then there could be a breakout to the upside. So you could also look at the price from this perspective. We have to see whether it turns back up from this point or not, or if this downward move gets even more intense. Well, as for the zones, we've updated the zones, so let's take a look at gamma and delta. Alright. Let me just say, everything is clear now. Since this is a downtrend, you see, it doesn't give us the gamma here. Well, apparently we can't have gamma here, but anyway, halfway through, right around here, about 92, 4,500, gamma is long. So halfway between delta and gamma, the long move is about 94,500 and gamma is short. It becomes 94,500 right here where we had the interaction. Almost right here, you see? Here. Here, gamma long is the ticker and gamma short is the maker. So right here, actually, the put is sold, the maker has sold the put, and now you can see that we've actually hit it and it's showing a reaction. The price won't have any more sharp gamma moves. Of course, halfway through this delta, we can also consider it as a gamma, meaning it's actually transferred to gamma short. Gamma short is at 103,500, which will be gamma long here for the maker at 103,500. Which this is placed up here, 103 and 500 are above, this zone is up here. Okay, let's look at the other expirations and see how Azad is doing. On November 16th, it intensifies. Look, this bearish outlook has intensified for Sunday. And on its own, November 16th is still bearish. You can see, we might even move down to 90,000. November 17th, on its own, the trades that day are still bearish. which at its lowest even reaches 85. And finally, on November 18th, there's low volume and few trades, but movement has been seen in both directions. And November 21st is the expiration for next Friday, and as you can see, there's some volatility. The bottom of this swing is around 85, and it has two peaks, one at 88, another peak here at 98, and its ceiling is at 100,000, 100,200. So this is another perspective we can have if we move the slider forward. Of course, we know it might change or not. Yes, with these recent trades for November 21st, the curve is taking on a downward shape. The curve is taking on a downward shape below 91,000. So we have to see, in these conditions where fear has taken over the market, because this also has an impact. After all, people buy insurance, they buy to hedge, and these things have an effect. And once again, the overall outlook and perspective of traders today, specifically for November 28th, is that look, a situation has come up where the delta is trending downward. Actually, we should look at the curve like this. Movement has been seen in both directions. On the downside, below 86,000 is profitable, and on the upside, above 101,000 is profitable. Yes, the main curve looks like this, as you can see in this case. We're close to the lower bound, which is 92,300, and the upper bound is 107,000, where breaking through it would put us in profit. Right now, we're actually realizing the lower side. Let's take a look at the detailed trades for tomorrow, November 15th. There are 4,394 Bitcoin, of which 2,375 Bitcoin were bought. Out of this amount, 792 Bitcoin are call buys and 1,582 Bitcoin are put buys. So it's pretty clear that the market is strongly bearish below 95,380. I think we went down to 94,400 or 94,500, and the bearish scenario seems to have played out. Now, if this candle closes the way it is, it could indicate a bit of a decrease in downward pressure. There are very few call buyers, but the call buyers want a profit above 98,400. 98,400's roughly here. This price cluster that's formed here is actually what they wanted. And let's move on. Given the downward trend we've been in, naturally we expect to see a rebound here, a correction in this move upward. The contract sellers who are involved. So the contract sellers, just look at this initial pattern. We're at the bottom, our low is 95,000, we went down to 94,500, then came back up, peaked at 98,000, and the top is 101,500, which means we can expect something in this area. Sellers, 2,000 Bitcoin, 1,194 call sales, 824 put sales. The put sales were executed during these hours, so we can still expect the call sales to be executed, which are even more in number. They saw a ceiling at 98,800, so we can expect to see this level, 98,800 to 99,000, and up to around 99,000. We should come up and watch this upper range. Okay, that's the breakdown of the trades. We also check the expiries for the other days. Now, in that file where I try to give my opinion, we'll also take a look at the longer-term outlooks, and then move on to the process database. This data the process base is 2,587 Bitcoin. Well, here, the open interest is showing a downward trend, but it doesn't have a significant impact. When it dropped below 96, we went down to the 90s here, it happened, and then we came back. Now, the large sizes, 10 Bitcoin, 50 trades, 12 Bitcoin, 40 trades, 15 Bitcoin, 35 trades for tomorrow. These are the trades we have. There are some really big trades. Says we have 250 Bitcoin in long puts at 97,000, which already happened. This was actually entered at 8 a.m. today, and it happened. We went below 97 and came back. For now, there's a 100 Bitcoin long put at 96, which also got executed. There's a 140 Bitcoin long put at 92. This one's a bit risky. It was entered at 1 p.m. and is targeting 92. Here, you can also see, among the latest trades entered, there's a 100 Bitcoin long put at 96. Again, in a way, it's looking below 96. Apparently, we don't have a strategy, and the block numbers are the same? Yes. Look at the buys. We mostly have 835. Actually, these are for 15 Bitcoin and above. There are 835 buy orders with 68 call buys and 766 put buys, meaning they're almost all buying puts. If you look at the call buys, their strike prices are all at 104, and we even have some at 110 and 112, but honestly, I don't think there's much hope for those in the short term. So it seems like our bounce back to 98, now 99, and then a continued move downward, unless this 98 to 99 level breaks and we go for 102, in which case, well, we can discuss further. But with the current trend, it's likely the downward movement will continue for now, since in the coming days, until the end of the 7th, there's still a chance for the price to drop. Alright, let's move on to liquidation. Looking at liquidation, we still see liquidity building up on the upside at 99,000 and 102,000, and on the downside, liquidity is forming again down to 93,000, though it's still low. Let's look at the longer term, over 3 days. 3 days, and if we look, yes, you can see that over 3 days, there's a much stronger concentration of liquidity building up on the upside. That means the targets are stacking up one after another on the upside, with liquidity gathering there. On the downside, again, we have liquidity down to 93,000, down to 93. Let me also check a longer term view, like over a week. All right. So here, again, this is the weekly view. You can see how all the liquidity from the previous move has been collected at the bottom, and on the upside, liquidity is gradually accumulating up to 108. On the downside, there's still some liquidity down to 93, 92, which we need to keep an eye on. Since the price is getting close to that CME gap at 92, I think I need to factor that into my calculations a bit. It's not really out of reach, so if we want to update this arrow, it would look like this, drawn from here downward. Now, this candle has also taken on a hammer shape. If we go back toward 92, actually 9200, yeah, around 99,000, and then another attempt at 94. Right now, under this pressure, we probably can't really expect a move back up, especially since the RSI on the 4-hour chart still has room to go down. That means it could enter the oversold area on the 4-hour, like it did here. There's still room for the moving average to drop further. That's our first scenario. Our second scenario is that it breaks through, breaks out, and heads for 101 to 102, the upper ceiling, but that might not necessarily happen in the next hour or even the next day. We might come down again and then, for example, make another attempt at this upper ceiling. But in any case, we will have a corrective move upward, at least initially to 98, around 98 to 99. In the upcoming next stage, we'll most likely probably move back downwards from here. Yeah, I think we can say this scenario is more likely. Thanks for your attention, I hope.